Don't we have nice grass?
You always
In all seriousness,
had my foot on.
I walked out here. I was like, Dave Mongan and Eddie Levins and Danny Lucido, our field guy, like they've done an amazing job. This is really nice. So I just walked out here. I was like, I wish my yard looked like this.
How do you describe practice then?
You know what? I changed how we're starting to practice now because we're getting closer to the games. I put them in racks of 10. So instead of going like 4 at a time and 5 and 6 at a time, and it definitely affected them, right? Which is what we wanted, right? Just the offense, you can't on 4th down or 3rd down, you can't snap the ball. So they got off to a hot start, a couple things early, but too many miscues, too many mistakes, too many penalties. We really challenged them today. Like we came out here today, they didn't give them a script. Everything was called, so they had to react to the whole offense. So we challenged them. And then defensively, I thought defensively, while we did do some good things, you could see the fatigue as the practice wore on. So it's late in camp. You kind of get back here. Maybe sometimes you're hoping it's kind of, hey, is the end in sight? The end's not in sight. We have a lot more work to do.
Now that you have a quarterback, what was the differentiator, and when did you really see that grow?
And I hope you guys understand. Both those guys are really important to me. They're important people, and so I'm not going to compare them. And I hope everyone understands. Like I don't want to say anything because at the end of the day. I believe in both guys, and I believe in who Sam Darnold is, and I believe in how hard he's worked and how professional he's been. At the end of the day, we felt like Baker's made a lot of progress in a short amount of time, kind of in the things I've talked to you guys about, and so we felt like it was right to make that move for this team. Right now, I said, hey, when we know, we know. We felt like we knew, and it was time now with the second preseason game done to sort of start to move forward and say, hey, Baker's the quarterback. Sam, you get ready, and kind of go from there.
What do you feel like Baker gives you, Matt?
Meet with them together to discuss?
No, I met with each guy separately.
What was the conversation like with Sam, or from what you want to be able to shed light on?
Yeah, other than just to say that Sam's the ultimate professional, and obviously, I don't want to speak for him, but he wants to do what's right for the team, and so he was a true pro in every sense.
Matt, what do you feel like Baker brings to the table for you guys?
Well, we're hoping that he moves the offense. I mean, I don't want to make it too simple, but I mean I think he's a guy that's accurate. He's a guy that's smart. He plays fast. He knows where to go with the ball. He's still adjusting to our mechanics, our footwork. So, I think making this move now gives him time to really kind of settle in with some guys. And but he's a really fast processor, and so. As much as anything, the chemistry with the receivers is one thing. The chemistry with the center, because Baker goes pretty quick, and he wants to get in the protection calls and get going. So, but there's a lot of work to do. I just felt like this was the time.
Has he shown enough to make you believe that he could be a long-term solution to the position that you've been trying to find a long-term solution?
Yeah, and you guys know me well enough. I'm not going to talk about guys' futures and all that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Scott, Dave, they that's more their job. I'm in the moment right now. I'm thinking about practice to practice, and I want all of our players to know that we support them and believe in them. So Baker's, he's done a lot of things in his career already. He's had a lot of accomplishments. I want him to focus purely on football, and I think he will.
How did the rest of the team find out? Was there an announcement, and what kind of reaction or any was there?
I told the team there was no reaction.
I'm sorry if you answered this on Saturday, I wasn't here, but does Matt Corral's injury change the number of quarterbacks you guys are going to carry?
It potentially could. It potentially could. We're, we'll have to kind of get through next week and see just sort of, hey, what is the best 53 for us? So right now things are, we have another game to go. There's injuries, all kinds of things change everything. So we're just kind of in evaluation mode still. But it potentially could.
You did say the starters are going to play. Any idea about how long?
Yeah, and it'll still be on a case by case. There might be a couple guys we hold. But our hope's to play a lot of guys, through the first quarter into the second quarter, and but it'll be sort of, hey, where we are depth-wise, health-wise. A couple guys got banged up today, so a lot of times it depends on, hey, who's available as well.
How about Baker? How much would he play?
I'm hoping to play him at least a quarter into the second quarter.
How has it been determined yet whether Corral will get surgery?
Yeah, I think Joe, that'll probably be determined tomorrow, and just because he's he's kind of talked to one doctor and then probably getting a second opinion here. So I think we'll have sort of everything kind of finalized on his behalf tomorrow.
So there's a chance it would be non-surgical?
I don't know that. I just think in terms of what route and all that, I think he's just talking to a couple different people.
Hey, Matt, a while ago you talked to
Sorry, guys.
speaking of tomorrow, obviously it's a hard cut day. Steve Smith was recently, talking about how difficult it was for him. He even came late on those kinds of days. Hard thing for him to process, seeing those guys after they work really hard. Can you talk about your process going through it, both as a coach and just as a person, since you seem to be really connected to the players?
Yeah, it's the worst part of this job. It's the absolute worst part of this job because these guys put their heart and soul into this, and so it's the part that I hate the most and dislike the most, and I empathize with the players the most. But at the end of the day, it's part of it. It's what we have to do, and I think Scott and his staff and us and our staff try to do it as well as we possibly can.
Matt, early in training camp, you talked about finding an identity on offense. How close are you to that? Have you found one? What is it?
I think we're trending that way. I think obviously last week was kind of like a step back in that, and the reason being, we did a lot of things just for New England, and so instead of just kind of establishing, we don't want to kind of show some things of who we are. And I think, to be quite honest with you, one of the things I've learned from Coach Belichick is that first month of the season, you're still identifying sort of who you are and playing some young guys, but I like the way we're headed. I like that offensive line. I like some of the things that they're doing. We've been throwing the ball a lot in these games to really get a feel for where our passing game is, but I feel like we're going to have the ability to run the football, protect the quarterback, and we have some playmakers that I think Ben does a great job of creating space. So that identity is forming, but it has to bear out in games. You are what you put on tape. I tell the guys all the time, I know everybody loves social media. I know everybody loves branding, and I'm all for all that stuff. I love players' personal brands. But in this game, at the end of the day, you are what you put on tape. And you know what? That's why these preseason games are so important for our guys. But really for our offense, to me, it'll come down to, we'll play on Friday night, and we'll play somewhat vanilla, and people will either be really excited but at the end of the day, it comes down to what happens in the game September 11th and all that.
What can Icky learn from the experience he had, especially in the past 4 reps against the Patriots?
I think I think you have to get beat sometimes as a young player to see that, number one, a lot of times it's in your control. I should have done this differently. I should have done that differently. Russell Okung, when he was here, used to talk to me all the time about the great pass rushers and how they would set you up and how you can't expect one move. And so I think Icky kind of got out there one play and thought it was going to be one move, and it was another one. And what we really want from him is just to keep playing each play. But what I loved about him was his mentality, man. Young players, if they have grit and if they're resilient, they'll be good players. That play didn't affect him. He came right back out, and he's had a great attitude out here.
Matt, what stands out to you about the way that Baker picked up this offense?
It's not easy what he did. Between the verbiage and the checks and the all the options that we give him. I think he's just a really smart guy, but he also works really hard at it. He spends a lot of time, and so I look at it like it's just the beginning. For me, this should be the minimum of where he's at. Like, I just think as he stays in the offense, he'll grow and grow and grow and get better and better and better. So, but I have to give him a lot of credit for what he's done.
Matt, what was Baker's reaction when you told him he was a starter?
Stoic and professional. At the end of the day, I think he's when you spend some time with him, he's a very straightforward, guy. So just very stoic. I'm like, okay, got it. And I kind of talked a little bit about what I expect. And he was like, I got it, and kind of moved on. So it wasn't real long. It was pretty straightforward.
Hey Matt, before camp started, you talked about wanting to figure out what your pass rushing unit could do in-house. That's why you guys didn't sign a veteran. What have you learned about your pass rushing?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I think our blitz packages, we haven't shown a ton of them, but when we do, we've had a lot of success. I think Burns in New England, Brian was reaching another level of what he can possibly be. Marquise Haynes, now Marquise did not practice today with personal reasons, but Marquise has had a really good camp. I think Yetor's finding himself. It's really the interior pass rush that, I need to see more development from, and I'll pull out of that. I think Derek and Matt, it's just really some of those young guys, those down the line guys, and I say down the line just in terms of, hey, they're running with the twos. I think we're doing a nice job versus the run, but some of that interior pass rush is what I want to see over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Do you guys still have interest in potentially bringing a veteran in here?
I think Scott and Dan and Pat and Samir, they're always looking at different guys. I mean, they come in and say, "Hey, here's a name." So, my goal is to, when we set the 53, keep that 53. I think we have a good enough roster that we don't have to keep going out and getting new guys. We've done that for a couple years to get to this point, and I want our guys to kind of know, hey, we're rocking out with you. These are our 53. Injuries happen, of course, but there's some time between now and then. So I know they're always exploring everything. My job is to coach these guys, and I see them coming. We just have to keep pushing.
I know you had a chance to see J.C. Horn a little bit out here practice and what he did today. I mean, how excited do you see what he can do this season?
Yeah, I just think JC's he's a difference maker, and you feel him on the field, and not by braggadocio or talking and all that, just the way he plays the game. He's a football guy. So it's good to get C.J. Henderson back. It's good to have JC back. So if we can keep those guys healthy and trend towards that first game, I'll be pretty excited.
Matt, several times Baker said to us that it was important for him and Sam for that quarterback competition to be professional, and that a quarterback room could sort of dictate a locker room. Is that something you talked with that group about also?
You know what? I never really talked about keeping it professional because, like from the day I first talked to Sam, I know who he is. I don't have to worry about that with him. And when Baker came in, I quickly could recognize who he was. So I wasn't worried about that necessarily. I think what's kind of cool is they became friends along the way, and they have really supported each other. And the power, like when a young player comes into me and is like, Coach, how come I'm not getting more reps? Which I want them to do. I encourage them to come talk to me. For me to say, let's talk about Baker and Sam, and look at them. These guys are both fighting for their careers and fighting for the chance to start and play and all these things. And they're both really good quarterbacks. And how are they handling the competition? So, like, the rest of the team, I think, has modeled that. I mean, I think those two guys have elevated the professionalism, have elevated the I think Ben used the word, if we don't resort to cannibalism, they've taken it the other way. Like, hey, at the end of the day, it's all about the team. It's not about one guy. And I think the rest of the team has really followed suit. That's it. Wow, thank you, guys. All right.